Well, that's a bit of a flop.
Oh, we're going to see fireworks here. Queen, Jack, 8 of diamonds, 3 diamonds out there. Tom Dwan has flopped the flush, but Ivy's got the ace of diamonds.
And he's got the top pair. And, of course, it's poor Mike Madisau with the third best hand right now and drawing pretty well dead.
Kind of tight value better than River. Kind of tight betting with him.
Mike Madisau bets 4,200. Phil Ivey just calls. Action on Tom Dwan.
Going to be curious to see whether he just wants to
If you raise a turn, though, you could have probably won the same.
just a call, or maybe the re-raise.
No, if you're in Tom Dwan's spot, do you wait to the turn to make the big move? Tom Dwan is only $73,000 deep. I say only, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see all of it go in eventually.
Maybe a break and maybe a double up. If I raise a turn. Nah, I think if you raise a turn, because how does the king?
I think you've hit the nail on the head, really, David. I think the fact that he's only got 73,000 there, he's going to give himself an opportunity to put the chips in the middle.
Well, he's putting a lot of chips in the middle right now. Those red chips are $1,000 chips.
What do we have left? Started with about 70.
And it looks like a raise up to about 19,000, I'm guessing. Obviously, Madisau gets out of the way. He had really nothing there, just a second pair.
Well, Phil puts the big re-raise in with the black chips, not messing around.
You said you had like 70, right?
All the way?
About, I suppose.
Ivy,
They're just checking. I think he's moved him all in.
yeah, Ivy has essentially moved Tom Dwan all in. Tom Dwan is called.
Phil needs to catch. Doesn't hit the turn. Doesn't hit the river. And Tom Dwan's going to double up against Phil.
Phil Ivey makes the move on the flop. Tom Dwan quickly calls. A blank on the turn, a blank on the river.
Mikey, you bet the flop.
And then it's pretty good full.
Phil knew even if he's up against it here, he's more than likely going to have some sort of outs by catching a diamond, as long as he's not up against 9-10 of diamonds, of course. And with Tom Dwan being Tom Dwan, he doesn't actually have to have much of a hand in this spot.
Very, very difficult for Phil Ivey to get away from that one, especially against that particular opponent.
Well, that's the reason Tom plays the way he does. When he gets a hand, he gets paid.
Tom Dwan, by the way, now up to $155,000. And just like that, Superman is human. As I said, Tom Dwan up $55,100. And now that he has chips, he's going to be even more dangerous. Phil Ivey, still our big winner, up $66,000. And our big losers, Patrick Antonius and Andrew Feldman. Feldman down nearly $100,000. Refresh our viewers on what straddling it is. It's pretty much an extra blind, but it's a live bet. And you are putting in double the big blind, but you get to act last, pre-flop. I'm not sure if it's a positive EV play, an expected value type play, but
sometimes it's the kind of play that really gets the action going. Someone who's stuck will quite often do it just to make the game a little bit bigger.
2,000 to play.
But when you've got some of these players in the pot, you don't need the action to be too much bigger. The money's going to go in there anyway. 2 fours from Phil Ivey, and here's a king-jack.
Cool.
Ferguson doesn't play too many hands. He's going to play this one, though. He's out of position against Ivey with the king-jack.
Well, it's a pretty good flop for king-jack.
Yeah, you're talking about a completely dry board. Jack, 7, deuce, rainbow.
3,000.
Small continuation, but probably thinking he's protecting his hand here. He'll find out whether he's in front or not. Doesn't need to risk any more than the 3,000. Now it's just a question of whether Chris calls or if he re-raises.
It's an interesting spot to be in, because if you're Chris Ferguson, all you really have right now is reverse implied odds. Because I don't think Phil Ivey is going to put another chip in the pot once he gets called or raised. But if a 4 comes off, you could lose a lot of chips.
That's true, but if he puts the re-raise in to protect his hand, the only way more chips now go in the pot is if he's behind. So, well, he's decided to make the re-raise, just protect his hand, maybe find out where he is. Nothing wrong with either play. Both have their strategies. It's a small re-raise. Now he's just made it bigger. And he's out of position. So Phil kind of half floating one, half thinks maybe there's a chance he's in front. Either way, he's got position, and that deuce doesn't change much of the board. Now if you're Chris, what do you do?
Can he actually think he's ahead? I mean, I have to think that Ivy's floating there thinking he's behind. I mean, on a board of Jack, 7, deuce, rainbow, when you are check raised by Chris Ferguson?
Exactly. If you're up against Chris, yes, I think that's totally true. But Chris giving him a chance to make another bet.
One thing we've seen from Phil Ivey, he is not letting any pot go uncontested. Fighting for every chip.
16.
16,000.
And he bet 16,000.
Now it's a question of how much does Chris like his hand?
Well, inherently, this is the problem with playing a hand like King Jack offsuit out of position against somebody of Phil Ivey's caliber. Pot is 36,700, and it's 16,000. Back to Ferguson.
Well, he's made the call.
And this is exactly the way that Ferguson made a lot of money last year in the $1 Million Cash Game. He let his opponents bluff at him.
He also lost a big pot when he went behind. Not getting away from, was it the aces?
Exactly.
Ace.
Well, that's a scary card for the King Jack. Of course, he's either up against a bluff or he's not. It's going to be
Now,
interesting to see whether Phil makes another big bet.
Now Ferguson checks. Action over to Ivy.
If Phil bets, Chris knows he's only beating a bluff.
Does Ivy have one more bullet in his gun?
I think Ivy's always got more bullets in his gun. It's a question of whether he's got the finger on the trigger or not.
Now, the one thing that's so dangerous about Ivy is Ferguson knows he will value bet pretty light.
To some extent, this is almost a good card for Chris.
Check.
Check.
The only hand he was really in trouble against was ace jack. Queens or kings might shut down or make a smaller value bet.
Check deuce.
Well, he's checked it. And Chris ends up winning that pot. I think it would have been very interesting to see what would have happened if he had made a 50,000 value bet in that spot, or thinks that looks like a value bet. But we'll never find out. Would Chris have made the call? Very interesting pot, though, David.
Yeah, well, the ace of spades on the river changes some things. I mean, I think Ivy, he's betting ace-jack there if he made top two. But if he had ace-jack, he was ahead the whole time anyway.
Exactly.
He's obviously betting aces full if he had a pair of aces in the hole.
But does he bet the queens or queens?
Kings or queens, he might shut down. Let's take a look at a leaderboard here at the $1 Million Cash Game. Season 4, Chris Ferguson on top, up $53,900. Tom Dwan right behind him, up $46,500. We take a look at the bottom, though. Alan Cunningham down $22,900. It could have been worse. Got rid of a very good second-best hand, but Andrew Feldman, though, down $117,000. 8 seats at this table, only 7 players. How does that change the game with only 7 players at the table?
Well, you're going to have to up your game a little bit. You're also going to be mixing it up a little bit more, lowering your starting hands. 300, 600 of the blind with a running ante of 100. That means there's more in there. It's going to cost you more to just sit back and not play, so you have to mix it up. And the master of mixing it up, Tom Dwan, in there. And Tom opening well. Mike mixing it up with just flat call with the aces. That could bring in the whole table behind him. He's got both Phil Ivey and Patrick Antonius who like to mix it up. Phil already in there as well. Well, we've got aces and aces here. That doesn't happen too often, does it, David?
No, not very often at all. I mean, Tom Dwan in there at the Queen 7, Phil Ivey at the Queen 6, but those are kind of relevant. You kind of see the black aces of Mattisau and the red aces of Andrew Feldman.
Raise.
And the way Andrew
9,100
Feldman's day is
total.
going, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw 4 spades out there.
Pass.
And the one thing about this raise, it almost looks like a squeeze play.
Exactly. With 3 people in there, everyone knows that Tom Dwan could have any kind of half hand. Phil's quite likely to be calling him with any kind of half hand.
And
It looks like it could be even just a call from Mike. And that's why Tom's calling. It's a good size, actually, as it happens, the re-raise from Andrew.
Now the action's on Mike Matusow. The mouth, trying to decide what to do. Pretty sure a re-raise is going to come in, though.
He doesn't want to play this hand like four-handed. If he calls, it's probably going to bring in Phil Ivey.
Raise.
And he is going to re-raise, and I see a black chip in there, which is at least 25,000.
Yeah, it's looking about 35, 40,000. It looks like a dream spot for Andrew Feldman.
37,100.
And some of the suspense taken out of this one, but still, anything can happen.
Yeah, I'm sure we've both been in pots where 4 of a suits come down. It's a harsh way to lose as well when you've got aces.
Now, if you're Feldman, would you ever just smooth call here, knowing that Matusow's kind of committed to this pot, putting him on kings or queens and going, okay.
I'm all in.
Quite possibly,
All
but
in.
the only thing that would worry me about that is having Tom Dwan behind me.
I call.
So I don't blame him. He might not want Tom in there as well.
Both players so excited when you saw all in and call, and both players kind of deflated when they see the other player has aces. And you've got the black aces against the red aces.
You guys were happy for a second.
Second time this week.
Yeah, or black. That's not a good card.
Well, that's a diamond. Diamond. Well, Mike Matusow can't win the pot anymore. He can only split it. He's hoping the turn card's not a diamond. Oh.
One more. Diamond.
Oh, here it is. $175,000 to the river.
Oh!
Been there. See, the old Mike is negative. The new Mike knew it wouldn't be there.
That's deep.
That is. It's true. Hi, I'm Mike DeMouth Matusow. My biggest poker achievement is making 2 final tables at the World Series of Poker main event. I don't know why I lived there because it sucks, but I lived in Las Vegas since I was 10. I've been there for 31 years. Even though I might not look 41, I am. I act about 12. I learned everything on my own. I was a natural. I was just a great poker player from the beginning. I'm probably not near as good a poker player as I used to be because there's so many great players now. I mean, I'm top 15 all-time money list, so I mean, and I've played probably less tournaments than anybody that's in the top 15, so you know, I can't complain.
How do y'all get those hands? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. It's the first hand I've had today. What's really great about it is I thought I set the trap. When he re-raised and you called, I said, beautiful. And then he has to have aces too. Kings. I kind of figured you had.
What a dream situation. You pick up aces and you get action, and unfortunately your opponent has aces also.
Kings there.
Oh, Matusow picks up another big hand. He's got the pocket jacks. 2 black jacks here. He's in first position. He's going to raise it up again.
2,500 to play.
2,500. It's quite a big raise.
It is a big raise. Possibly he doesn't want to be seeing a flop with too many players behind him. Here comes one.
Oh.
At least he hasn't got any overcards to the jacks. It's Jack 10 of diamonds for Patrick. Certainly doesn't want to catch top 2.
Pass.
Tell you, if Matusow had lost with the aces there, we would have never heard the end of it.
Disgusting.
Oh.
Cool.
You know,
Oh, and Cunningham kind of opening up his game.
Well, it's going to be at least 3-handed, and he expects probably 4 with Tom Dwan.
Yeah, Tom Dwan's got the old Dolly Parton, 9 to 5.
I think he's thinking about a squeeze here.
Cool.
Well, he might have thought about it, but he doesn't do it.
Guarantee you he thought about it.
12 pills.
Pot is just over $10,000, and here's the flop. 3 ways. King, 7 deuce.
King.
And
Rainbow, awful lot of draws out there, as in none.
and amazingly, you know, Matisso's jacks are still good.
And no one else has even caught a pair.
Check.
And it checks around. Here's a turn.
10.
Turns a 10.
That's a good card for Mike. Gives second best pair for Patrick Antonius, and with a check around,
Check.
he may figure he's still in front.
Yeah, well, Cunningham's got third pair. Matisso's got second pair to the board. And Patrick Antonius second pair on the board.
And Tom Dwan there with 2 hearts in his hand, he's picked up a flush draw. And here he goes betting it.
It's like a family meal. A little something for everybody.
Exactly. And with no one with the king, the action's going to be a bit slow. It's not going to be too expensive to see the river.
7,200 to play.
And I think Matisso's a little bit uncomfortable in situations like this.
Yeah, I think so too.
Call.
He makes the call.
Pass.
Well, that's going to get Patrick out of the way.
Pass.
Patrick knows that Matisso's a pretty tight player. And we're
Well,
heads
he's
up
done
here.
well to get out of there in that spot. At 3 changes nothing. Tom, only way he can win this is possibly with a big, big bet.
I don't think Matisso's folding no matter what. I got to tell you. Well, there's only one overpair, only one overcard to my pair of jacks. The 3 of diamonds completes nothing at all. And you've got to start thinking of hands that Dwan could have bet. He could have picked up hearts. He could have 8-9. He could have had queen jack. I mean, there are a lot of cards you could have theoretically picked up.
But there reaches a point when you can only beat a bluff, and do you think the man's bluffing? That's all it's going to boil down to if he does fire a 25,000 or something into this pot.
That's what makes poker
Would
so
he bet
great.
a 10, for instance, you know? We know Tom Dwan had bet an awful lot less than a 10. But only as a bluff.
I mean, if Cunningham or Ferguson are betting in this case, I might lay down jacks down. There's no way I'm laying jacks down in this case, and I think Dwan knows that. This is why he checked. Matisow is going to check it behind.
Tom looks to the heavens, possibly thinking, I might have been able to get a bluff through. I think David's probably right. I think you probably did well to check that one, Tom. I think Mike would have called him down.
Jacks aren't really good when 6 people call your raise.
Today's your day, Mike. Let's all to it.
Yeah. This ain't my day. We got like 20 hours left.
How are you going to make it 20 hours? If you get ahead,
I ain't leaving. I'm going to tell you right now.
gonna play
You
the
heard
whole
it from
time?
me. I ain't leaving.
really?
Yeah. And you want to bet on that? We can bet like 20,000.
Okay, so if you ever leave, if you ever quit,
I'll tell you what. If I quit before the game ends, if I don't quit, you owe me 20,000. If I do, I owe you 20,000.
It's a fair bet.
is it?
Yeah, it's good odds. Go on, Phil.
One big blind, please.
That's what I'm here to do. Crush you guys. Not so much you.
Thank you.
I can't have. I don't want to hurt any part of you. You got 100,000 to win from me. So I want to keep you. You know.
You going to be there?
Hell yeah, I'm gonna be there.
You going to sweat me in?
I'm gonna be there every minute.
2,700.
Not only am I gonna be there
Race
every
here
minute,
from
Pass.
Will you wear
Patrick Antonius
I am gonna.
after a limp from Phil Ivey.
Well, that's the reason why he's raised it up. King 10.
Pass.
Doesn't need much of a reason, that much is certain.
No. I mean, when
Mike Madison not going to defend with his 6-4.
has that ever happened?
Phil limped with the ace-4 to call a raise.
Well, you know once he limps there, there's no way he's going to fold, especially not to Patrick Antonius' raise.
Heads up.
Here's the flop. 10-5 deuce. And Patrick Antonius a top pair. Phil Ivey now with the gut shot wheel draw. Needs a 3 to make that wheel.
Can also catch the ace, as we know.
7 outs.
You're not planning on doing the whole
5,100.
win bonus. Me, him, and Bobby. And then Bobby calls.
Quick tip for the audience, if you work out that you've got 7 cards to improve, a quick way to work out what percentage you've got is just to multiply those outs by
7.
4. That's why he's got 28%.
Check.
Only works on the flop, of course. That percentage goes down when the turn card comes.
7 of diamonds. Not a help. And Phil Ivey still with the same 7 outs. Needs a 3 or an ace on the river. Or somehow he needs Antonius to fold.
Which right now is going to be a bit tricky.
without them realizing
like milk that short stack. You had like this much for like 10 hours.
About 13,000. Actually, no, Patrick tends to bet a little bit more. Probably more like 15,000 from Patrick.
Talking about the most penetrating eyes in poker. Patrick Antonius, Phil Ivey, two players I certainly don't want to be playing against.
Well, you went with my first guess.
13,000. Pot is now nearly 31,000. 13,000 over to Ivy.
Well, he's reaching for the chips. He's not going anywhere by the looks of things. Well, looks like he's got something more creative lined up. That looks like 33,000 to me.
33,000 total.
Well, what is Ivy trying to represent here? Is he trying to represent a small set?
Small set. Maybe 7s and 5s.
And we've seen Ivy in there with 10-7.
Yeah, we have. I guess they don't have to be too close to be connected in Phil's hand.
Your style's good for a cash game. Yeah,
And
surprised
you
don't
get
play.
nothing from Ivy's face. Absolutely unreadable. Now, this is the dangerous spot for Patrick Antonius. If he calls a 20,000 on the turn, he
Puts-
might be faced with a big bet on the river.
Exactly, makes an 83,000 pot. Phew.
And he's going to call this.
Well, he teased us by picking up 125,000. Just made the call.
Pot is now $84,000.
6.
Well, the 6 diamonds doesn't seem to complete anything. Well, I mean, I guess you could say it completed the 3-4, or maybe, just throw this at you, if Ivy had picked up a diamond draw on the turn.
Yeah, he
something
could have
like
had
Jack 10 of diamonds.
Exactly. Phil obviously knows now he has to bet to win this pot. It's a pretty scary card for him. He knows that Patrick could have been found with anything on the flop, and then maybe he's fired again with a flush draw. But he does know.
Pot is $83,900. The red chips are 1,000. The purple are 100. The blues are 500. And Phil Ivy's got some black ones behind there, and those are $25,000.
All in.
All in.
And Phil Ivy's all in. We haven't seen Phil Ivy make this kind of bluff. Unbelievable.
It's a tough call with just a 10 and a king kicker.
It's $101,000 to call. He overbets the pot. It's exactly the way Phil Ivy would play this if he had a set. Or if he made 2 pair, something like that. Oh, it's an awfully tough call. Patrick Antonius trying to play this hand back in his head, figure it out. Is my top pair good?
Well, he knows right now the only thing he's beating is a bluff.
Oh, obviously. Now, if I'm in Patrick's spot, all I can keep thinking about is Ivy maybe check raise me with a diamond draw, and he's picked it up on the river.
These two players have played against each other an awful lot online, and a fair bit live as well.
The way this hand played out, I mean, it's almost as if Ivy thinks his ace of hearts is the ace of diamonds.
Pass.
Well, he lays it down. It's a great play by Phil. $100,000 on a stone-cold bluff.
Great play by Phil Ivy. Once again showing us why he's the master.
Welcome back. We are in central London at the moment where the cameras and the lights are focused on some of the biggest names in the game. Let's get straight back up to your commentators.
Alan Cunningham, by the way, hasn't lost the most money at this table,
Pass.
but